So today on the menu, we're going to make fresh mushroom and spring onion soup, and we're going to make some lovely white scones to go with the soup. Okay, so here we have for the soup, we have our mushrooms, we have our spring onions, we have our onion, and we have some celery, we have our stock cubes, and we have our cream. Okay, and over here we have our white flour. We have our baking powder, and we have our butter, we have our lemon, and we have our egg, and we have our milk, and we have some sugar. So these are all the ingredients that are going to make the fresh mushroom and spring onion soup with lovely white fresh scones. What we're going to do is we're going to make our scones first, okay? So what we've done is we have our 2 ounces of butter. We've just diced it up. We have 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar. Okay, we've 1 tablespoon of baking powder, which will help it rise. We've 1 lemon, which we're going to add into our milk. Okay, the lemon juice will make the milk of sour. That's the way we want it. We've 3 cups of flour, okay, and we have our egg, which is going to be our egg wash for the top of our scones. Okay, we have our scone cutter, and we have our rolling pin, and we have our tray with tin foil and greaseproof paper on it. Okay, so again, 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar, 2 ounces of butter diced up, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 3 cups of flour, half pint of our sour milk. We just made it sour there by just putting the lemon juice into it. We have our egg, which we're going to make an egg wash. We'll add some water to the egg after we beat it up. We have our flour for dusting our table, and we have our scone cutter and our rolling pin for the scones. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add all the dry ingredients into the bowl here. We've just put our flour in the bowl. Now we're putting our baking powder into the bowl. We're going to add in our salt. Okay, and we're going to add in our sugar. So what we're going to do is we've added in our sugar, our baking powder, our flour, our salt, and our sugar. So we're just going to mix all the dry ingredients up, and just make sure that they're mixed in well. And what we're going to do is now we're going to add in our butter. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it like a breadcrumb effect with our flour and our butter. So you can see we rubbed in the butter into our dry mix, and you can see we have a lovely it's like a breadcrumb consistency here. So what we're going to do is next, and you can see it here, it's like breadcrumbs. So what we're going to do is next we're going to add in some of our sour milk. Okay, so we're just going to give sour milk in the store. Okay, the lemon juice, and we're just going to add some of sour milk into the bowl. Okay, so we're just going to keep mixing from the outside in until we form a dough ball in the middle. So you can see here we're forming our dough ball, all the areas, all the dough ball should be should just form a nice ball in the center of the bowl. So we're nearly there now with our dough ball. So there's our dough ball. You can see it's at the mix is it's just right. It's not too wet and it's not too dry. Okay, so our dough ball is ready now to be kneaded on the chopping board. Okay, so we're going to knead our flour next, our dough ball next. We're going to roll it out, and then and we're going to cut the scones. So we've just dusted our table with a little bit of flour, okay, and we're going to knead our dough ball, okay, from the outside in, and then we're going to roll it out, okay. Just knead it. We don't want to over knead it, we just want to knead it for about 2 minutes, okay, and then we're ready then for rolling out and for cutting the scones. Okay, so there's our dough ball. Our dough ball is ready now for kneading, okay, so we're just going to roll it out, okay, just turn the pastry and roll it out, okay. Alright, so our dough is ready now for cutting, okay, so we always start from the outside in, okay, so there's our first one, second, third, fourth, okay, our fifth, sixth. Okay, and what we're going to do is now we're going to make another small little dough ball. We'll roll it out again, and we're going to get 2 or 3 more scones out of this dough. So there we go, we're after getting 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 scones out of that mix. Okay, so we're going to place the scones now on our tray. We're just going to divide them up nicely, okay. So there we have our 9 scones on the tray. What we're going to do is now, we're going to beat up the egg. And add a little drop of milk into the egg wash, just a tiny bit. And we're just gently going to put some egg wash on top of the scone. So we're just going to egg wash. Just put some egg wash here on. We have a tissue paper, and we're just putting the egg wash on the scones, and this will give the scones a lovely golden look and a crispy effect on top. Okay, so our scones are ready for the oven now. So what we're going to do is we have our oven preheated, okay, up to 200. We're just going to lower it down to 180, and we're going to put the scones into the oven. So there we are, our scones are gone into the oven, and we're going to close up the oven now and let the scones cook. What to do is now we're going to bring your attention right back to the soup now, okay? So we have our water on boiling. We have 2 stock cubes. You can use other vegetable stock cubes if you're vegetarian, or you can use chicken stock cubes, okay? So we're going to make white stock, okay? So I have 2 chicken vegetable stock cubes. The water's boiling. I'm going to add in the stock cubes into the water, and I'm just going to let them dissolve, okay? So we let that just dissolve there and bring it back to the boil. We have our pots now for our soup, and we have our veg is all washed and peeled, and we're just going to finely chop it. So we have our onion, we have our scallions, we have our celery, and we have our mushrooms, okay? So we don't want to use anything that's too overpowering, because we want to get the flavour of the mushroom, and we want to get the flavour of the spring onions, the scallions in the soup, okay? So we're just using celery and onions, okay? So we're going to finely chop all our washed vegetables. Our veg is all chopped. We have our onions finely chopped, we have our spring onions chopped, and we have our celery, and we have our mushrooms, okay? So our stock is ready to go, okay? And we're going to start making the soup now, okay? Alright, so before we start sweating off the vegetables, I'm just going to bring your attention to the scones. So you can see here our lovely scones are going lovely and golden, and they're in the oven now the last 10 to 15 minutes. So they're lovely colour, they're after rising. So our scones will be ready in another 10 minutes. In the meantime, we've just heated up our pot. We're going to add a tiny drop of olive oil into the pot, and we're also going to add in the knob of butter. Okay, so we're just going to let that melt away. Okay, we don't want it to burn, so we're just going to turn down the heat. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in all our vegetables. And we're going to start off our onions, our spring onions, our onions, and our celery. We're going to place them into the pot now. So you can see here we have our celery, our spring onions, and our red onion in the pot here. So we're just going to saute them off, just for about 5 minutes, just on a low heat, and we're just going to take that crispness or the bite out of the rawness out of the vegetables. Okay, so we're just going to let them cook away, just continuously stirring just for about 5 minutes on a low enough heat, and then we're going to add in our mushrooms. Okay, you can see that our veg has slightly sweated out, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our mushrooms. Okay, turn up the heat a little bit, and we're going to cook out the mushrooms, saute them off. Okay, so we're just going to let them saute off. Just going to put another little tiny dribble of oil into the pot, and let them saute off, continuously stirring for about another 5 minutes. See the colour that our veg is nicely sauteed off. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add some sea salt and some black pepper into the soup. Okay, so we're just going to give that a little stir up. So the next thing what we're going to do is, this is going to be what we call a flour-based soup. So we're going to add in about 2 ounces of flour. Okay, the flour is going to make a roux. It'll make the soup thicken. Okay, so we're just going to give it a good stir around like a paste, and then the next thing to do is to add the stock. Okay, so you can see the paste that we've made with the flour and the veg. Okay, so we've cooked it out just for a minute or so. So what we're going to do is now we're going to add in our stock. So we're going to gently pour in the stock. Okay, half the stock in. We're going to give it a stir. Okay, and then we're going to add in the rest of the stuff. Okay, so we're just going to dissolve out the paste that we've made, the paste with the flour and the cooked vegetables and the butter and oil. Okay, so we're just going to let that cook out. So in 20 minutes time we'll have a lovely mushroom and spring onion soup. Okay, so we're just going to bring it to the boil, and then we're going to let it cook out. Our soup has come up to the boil. Okay, we can see the lovely grey and mushroomy look that the soup is having. So we're just going to lower the soup down. Okay, we're just going to let it simmer and let it cook out. So we lower down the gas underneath it. We're just going to let it simmer and let it cook out for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we will then liquidize it. Okay, so we'll just let our soup simmer away. So I'm just going to bring your attention back to the scones. So there we have our lovely golden scones. Our scones are cooked now. Our scones have to be in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. So there we go, lovely crispy white scones. So there we go, there's our 9 lovely scones. Our scones are cooked, they're lovely and golden. So again, how you know a scone is cooked, just tap on it there and you hear a hollow kind of effect there on the scone. So the scones are all nicely cooked. Alright, so we have our 9 scones. Our soup has come along nicely here in the background. Another 5 to 10 minutes and it's ready for liquidizing. Okay, so our scones are cooked, ready to go, they're just relaxing, and our soup is nearly ready to be liquidized. Coming back to our soup is ready now to be liquidized. Okay, you can see it there, the mushrooms, everything is cooked out. the mushrooms, the celery, the onions, and the spring onions, the flour, the stock, and so everything is combined now. So everything is cooked out. So what we're going to do is now we're going to turn off the gas. Okay, you can either I like to use a liquidizing gun. I have a liquidizing gun here, so I have the gas turned off. I have my liquidizing gun plugged in, so we're just going to liquidize the soup. Okay, so we're going to have a lovely liquidized. So you can see here our soup is just after being liquidized. So what we're going to do is now we're going to bring the soup back to the boil. Okay, and we're going to add the finishing touches then, which is the cream. Okay, so you can see our soup is coming back to the boil here. It's a lovely colour, lovely grey colour, lovely fresh mushrooms in there. So the finishing touches now, as soon as it comes back to the boil, you can see it just getting ready to come back to the boil. We're going to put it on simmer, and then we're going to add in our cream. Okay, soup is just coming up to the boil now. Just going to put it on simmer. Okay, just putting it on simmer there now, and we're going to add in the cream. Okay, so we have our cream here. Just add in our cream. Okay, just give it a nice stir. Leave it on simmer there for a few minutes. 3 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes. You can see here we have a lovely grey, fresh mushroom and spring onion soup. Okay, so we're just going to bring that to the boil, and then it's ready for service. So you can see here our soup is ready for service now. We're going to serve the soup with a ladle into our bowls here. Okay, our soup bowls. Okay, so we're going to ladle the soup into the soup bowls. So there we go, there's a lovely soup, lovely grey mushroom soup. We have our scones there as well. So we've 4 portions, we've 2 portions there, and we've another 2 portions in the pot. Okay, so we have our soup that we made from scratch, our mushrooms, onions, spring onions and celery, as well as our stock. We use some olive oil and some flour as well. Our scones we've made from scratch as well, lovely scones. So we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of chives on the soup just to give it a little bit of colour. Okay, so there we go. So for 4 portions of soup and 9 scones, you're basically talking in and around €5 to make the soup and the scones. Okay, so I'm sure you'd agree. It's a lovely supper or a lovely starter. It's really nice and healthy, and it's very simple to make. Okay, so enjoy the soup and the scone.